A double swing coming across, and Victor puts NRG at map and series point.
Casi le corta el pelo a los últimos dos.
Welcome back to VCT Americas and our final match of Super Week. It's NRG versus KRU, and I'm Dash here with Mimi and Riv to round out an incredible 10-match Super Week. We're kicking off this segment like an hour sooner than I thought maybe we would, expecting the last series to be a lot closer, but what a runaway Cloud9 just had. And with one match to go, we'll see if either NRG or KRU can close it on a high note. Let's start on the NRG side. This is a core that's known for slow starts at times, but you can't let it go so slow that your entire season slips away.
Gas is on the right.
They're looking to find it right now. NRG, this is very uncharacteristic of a core who we expected greatness from, who I'm sure they themselves expected to be one of the top teams here in Americas, and thus far they have been struggling. Their chances of even making playoffs are currently in jeopardy.
Yeah, hanging in the balance, to say the least. And I think, Riv, we come back to that core, right? Where anytime a team is struggling, I'm always going to look for the people who have at times been the pillars and the most consistent performers. Those are the ones who are going to need to step up now, and the others can follow suit.
And I feel like at this point, the core is there. You have Finesse, you have Crashies, you have Victor. It feels good on this squad, but what they're trying to do, is feel like square peg in a round hole.
I mean, because look at this, right? We did a similar graphic for Loud as well, and this is marginally worse, and Loud is one of the best teams in the entire world, but meaning we're not getting this level of performance out of NRG currently.
Yeah, from Envy to Optic, this core has always been on the top of North America and at times on the top of the world. They've won an international event, the four guys you're seeing up there. But now here in Lock-In and in Americas, they've been circling. I mean, even at Lock-In, they were a semi-finalist there. But coming into Americas, it seems like things have changed. It seems like they are running out of ideas because right now they are 1-3 in the standings.
Well, speaking of ideas, let's take ideas and move it towards compositions, right? You got to first pick the 5 tools that you want to work with when you jump onto a map. And the comps, they seem a little overcooked so far, if I'm being honest. Everyone's playing different roles, round to round. Like, what is holding them back from figuring out what their approach to comps should be?
I would love to see them trying to at least, let's throw Artis on the duelist. Artis was brought over here. He was a duelist at Lock-In. He crushed on Jet. He crushed on Raze versus Loud. Why are we waffling so much with where things go? Sure, FNS can change back and forth from his amazing controller to an initiator and still do well in the sky, but let's file out how this duelist role is working.
It just seems like an issue of comfort. You see moments for NRG where someone is just not quite having the right utility to set up their teammate. The duelist role is pivoting between Victor and Artis. And thus far for Artis, he hasn't managed to ever, I think, find the star-studded performances that we expected from this guy. He is also a player who has won an international event before, who has been at the top of the game in VALORANT. And, I mean, they're just, this is an insane image.
Oh my God, look how many spicy meatballs are in there.
Chef NRG fits so well, because even from a syllabic level, it matches perfectly with what it's trying to do. Yeah, definitely too many cooks in the kitchen, it seems like, for this squad at the moment.
Everyone is serving up so many different roles throughout the map. And for NRG, I think they see this as a strength for them, their flexibility, because it has been in the past, but right now it seems to be working as a detriment to them. I honestly want NRG to kind of simplify things, play consistent roles, put Artists on the duelist, because when they are playing things that they are comfortable with, they're still a great team. Last week, even though we're kind of painting a rough image, they won their first map in great fashion. The calling on Haven was impeccable.
Yeah, right. It's such a fine line, Riv, right? This exact concept that Mimi's talking about, because there's so often we talk about what makes a really great player. It's like, oh, well, creativity, adaptability, obviously mechanics, things like that. And it's like, well, okay, being able to play many different kinds of agents can definitely be a boon to the squad, but just as easily it could be a net negative when you stretch yourselves too thin.
Exactly. You see MC talking about a player reaching a flow state, and Don talked about it yesterday, Psycho, that if you're changing back and forth, that sure, the team can do it and realize their duelist is changing, but you can buck that flow state pretty hard and not be able to reach it, always be trying to find out or just get there and you're short.
I love you dropping that term flow state, because I think a player who needs to find his flow state today is the IGL in Finesse, right? When he's on, this team is good. So he's got to find his rhythm. He's got to find that flow and really just let it ride.
It's about the leadership for FNS. He's been a player who has, like we mentioned before, has an insane curriculum vitae. I'm trying to go French here.
I like
it's the word I'm looking for.
He's got to school some kids.
Yeah, but he has so much experience at the top level as an IGL. And this Haven match is one where we saw that, where we saw the adaptation within the game. They did a great job of playing on this attacking side, forcing these rotations out of Cloud9. And when they were going for these late hits, it was almost always successful from them. On top of that, they adapted to the preparation that Cloud9 brought in against CC hits during the match within just a round or two. This is the peak form FNS calling we expect from this team, but throughout the rest of that series, on those attack sides, they weren't able to find that same consistency. They weren't able to, I guess, manipulate the rotations in the way you normally expect from a leader like Finesse.
Right. Finesse has usually had a better read on his opponents, the way they played. It's like almost like they were talking about the Cloud9 game, where when Cloud9 looks good, it looks perfect, it looks unstoppable. And you would at least get a few of those rounds out of FNS once the game was determined, once he could identify a few things about the opponent's precedents being set. So we're losing that in the mix of everything, I think, as they try to run another strategy or play reactive. It just seems like they're always a step behind where they were either on par or a step ahead before.
Yeah, but all of that, right, does track with that notion of being slow starters. But time is of the essence now. You got to get it going here and now. Another perspective, though, on NRG. Let's go ahead and hear from Cruz Davies.
NRG, desde el inicio de la liga lo dije que era uno de los equipos más fuertes, uno de los equipos que más rápido se te adaptan, que más te complican las rondas, que no te la regalan, digamos. Entonces, sin duda va a ser muy interesante, muy chévere, muy entretenido jugar contra ellos. Personalmente yo nunca he tenido la experiencia de jugar contra ellos en presencial, pero mis demás compañeros sí, cuando eran Optic y nosotros los demás estaban en KRU en Leviatán. Eso creo que va a ser muy entretenido, creo que va a ser un buen partido y va a ganar el que tenga la mejor mente en el juego.
Yeah, so how about that, Riv, saying it's going to boil down to a mental game of all things here today.
That's one of the cool things about VALORANT, just like to dive into that, is if your aim's off, you can still win the mental game. You can route your opponents. You can have those flanks that work. And it's definitely going to have to be about the mental game here and the post-plant mental game for KRU, because that's just where they have been falling apart. So I think mental is a big one on the docket today.
You still see the respect, though, for this NRG squad.
Yeah.
Despite them struggling right now, this is still a team's core that has beaten KRU, the core of KRU, many times in the past. It has a fantastic record against them. And what I locked onto was adaptation there. That's something that even in these struggles, Finesse has still been solid at.
Yeah, adaptation, and they give nothing up for free, he said, right? So the onus is on KRU to come and take it. Let's shift our focus over to that KRU Esports squad. Our last winless team here at VCT Americas. Despite that 0-4 record, though, they're technically not out yet, if you just want to talk mathematically towards the end of this season and a possible postseason placement. But at the end of the day, again, it is looking dire. And more than anything, I think you talk about mental. Getting a win on the board for your mental would be huge.
It would be massive for KRU. And their game versus 100 Thieves, they had opportunities to work into this one. On Ascent, there was moments where they could have taken that one home. It was dominant in the first map, but after that, 100 Thieves came alive, and KRU got completely shut down. It was another one of these games where they got so close to being able to beat an opponent, but it slipped away.
Yeah, Riv, EG, 100 Thieves, MIBR. These are three different series that were technically winnable there for KRU, but again, it plays into that notion of how many of those close losses can you take before you start letting it eat away at you, and you don't have the same kind of confidence stepping onto the stage.
Exactly. It's a lot about that confidence. Just in that Fracture game we saw, a 5-13 loss, they had 0 retakes they were able to accomplish versus 100 Thieves. So they're going to be hesitant almost on everything. That's where the mental comes into play. They have to break through that block and know that, yes, they can play off each other, and they need to here. This is going to be a team game, because we haven't even seen star power multi-kill rounds from single players be the reason KRU is finding themselves in a good spot.
Still, it's been 13-11, 13-11, these losses that are coming through. It feels like even in their losses, they're still having some moments that give you hope, and it's kind of a matter of time until they do find that upset.
Okay, well, why don't we talk about maybe some of the stuff that they can change, work around to find those upsets. Mimi, whip out that telestrator. I think you've got a little something prepared for us to talk about. KRU, what could change?
Let me pull this one up. So this was from their game just last week versus 100 Thieves, where I actually felt like this squad had some pretty solid moments. And this is going to kind of talk about 100 Thieves composition, where they're leaving this comp with no hard sentinel. So their flanks are always really open. And KRU realizes this. You see just at the start of the round here on your minimap, KRU is walking 3 players out through B main, just off of the dart there as they do contact up. They'll continue to walk their way through in this one, and 100 Thieves, they're leaning to try and finish into an ace, but they had KO knifed into mid to take that space and are slowly working space in A main. But KRU have realized that they have a gap here, and they walk all the way around behind 100 Thieves, who are still kind of curious of the fact that someone could be flanking them, and eventually do figure it out by finding that first kill. But then it kind of descends into chaos in this mid round, with KRU finding this kill in mid in just a second onto that initiator player of Asuna, who Kesnan isn't even ready to be here. It's not beautiful play from KRU, right? These rounds that we're looking at here, it's not them popping off and having an insane individual moment or an insane call. What it is them being able to exploit gaps that their opponent shows and win off of that. This is another round just a little bit later in this game as well, where you can see that there's a Viper's Pit here set up for Stellar. And KRU again have a good idea of how to exploit this one. They realize the weak point is splitting up towards heaven, and they go and commit to fight this one together. Despite being suppressed, just a double swing, a coordinated fight to take that initial kill. And Kesnan grabs another one, which leads them to wrap back into this A site and eventually get that spike down in a position that's pretty much unwinnable for 100 Thieves. What KRU does well is finding those gaps, exploiting them, and at times finding those individual moments you were talking about. But against NRG, like they said, this is a team who doesn't tend to give those same opportunities.
That's actually crazy to think about, because those windows are taken over so well for KRU, and they're going to have to act on them almost immediately here. NRG doesn't give the space, and KRU actually needs everyone to go forward here. We can't have the 1v1v1 situations that come out. We need the double swings, everybody anchoring each other with confidence. That mental game is paramount.
Yeah, both teams absolutely hurting for wins at this moment in this time here in the middle of our splitter as we crest that halfway point. We'll see if they have enough to bring it over the line today. We're closing out our Super Week with a big one. Let's go ahead and head out to the stage. Welcome NRG and KRU as they look to do battle and put a win on the board. Closing out Super Week with a battle that is guaranteed to be scrappy. Both of our teams hurting for a victory here as we move past that halfway point, and all of our teams do battle looking for a spot in the postseason. NRG versus KRU. Who's going to take it? That's the big question that remains.
Playoffs on the minds of both of these teams. For NRG, they had high expectations as they haven't been able to meet just yet. For KRU, not quite those same heights, but still for a squad that has achieved greatness in the past, they want to return to that. Going out in groups for either of these teams would be a big disappointment.
Yeah, KRU, it does, especially after this game, it doesn't get any easier, so a turnaround would be so big here. I mean, they still have the number 1, the number 2, and Loud, C9, Sen, Lev above them after this, so focus here, get this win, and move on, because there is time to still control things, still fix everything up, so you can look towards the future.
All right, let's talk approaches then to this series.
Let's do it.
What do we know about either of these teams' strengths and weaknesses when it comes to maps before we talk agents?
What NRG is strong at is maps where they can play heavily into the mid-round. I think what they can exploit here is that KRU, like we were just watching versus 100 Thieves, is a team who gets very aggressive at times on their defense, likes to try and find those gaps and exploit them. And NRG is one of the best at playing these slower defaults, really letting that time tick away and having good adaptations in the late round.
Crew being an aggressive team, I think, could plague them. They don't play enough default against NRG, identifying extremities of the map and closing in on Crew. We could see Crew feeling very suffocated here in the earlier parts of the game.
When it comes to Crew finding success, for me, it's always eyes on Kesnet. Not just him, though, as an individual and how he performs, but how the team sets him up to find those opening duels, to get the first kills, because when he's on and atop the board, Crew at times looks unstoppable. But if he can't generate anything, then it can usually be a quick defeat the other way.
Both these teams have those fantastic individuals, and for me, this is a game about fixing fundamental issues and also fixing your confidence. Both these teams have had a rough start. You win this one, this is that momentum shift.
All right, no split will be played here today as NRG removes that one from the pool. Crew will respond with an Icebox ban.
Icebox out. We expected these ones to come out as NRG. Let's see their composition for first map, or pick first map. It's going to be Haven, actually, to start us off.
Haven was really good for them against 100 Thieves. The calling there was fantastic. They play the basic comp. It's not anything crazy or gimmicky, but on that attacking side, they are world class. Ascent is where Crew will send us, a map that has for a long time been a mainstay for them. And NRG only played for the first time in this iteration of their roster in that 100 Thieves game.
Right, I feel like Crew is happy to go there with aggression. Ascent kind of lends itself to that, being able to get up on the sites, play in your opponent's face right away, as we see our next ban coming through.
That we do. Although Ascent, I think, for NRG will have been a main focus in them for shoring up their issues after that loss to 100 Thieves.
True.
That was very below what I would have expected from that NRG squad. With the last two bans coming through, we will land on Pearl as a decider, which is interesting because both these teams have had kind of interesting approaches, both leaning into that Harbor Viper. But NRG, even in loss, have looked really good. Played a super close game versus the Vietnam. At Lock-in, beat Loud on this map. It's been a strong point.
Oh, and especially looking at that Pearl, if we manage to get there, and the comment on the Harbor Viper is like week over week, the mastery that we've seen different teams develop over specifically that composition on that map. Like, who learned more this week? It's kind of a question that's top of my brain.
I love the Cove and Orb game that's been going on between Harbor and Viper. A lot of times you get the fake plant with the Cove down, and you get out the utility, that Raise Nade or whatever they want, and you're planting in the Viper Orb just a second later. Really neat little tricks and trades here. We're getting into Agent Select now. What will they have for each other coming in? Probably pretty safe to say Crashies on Initiator. There's the Sova.
Yeah, we were talking about if we're lucky enough to get to Pearl, but we got to get through the first two maps before we head there.
Crew have not played Haven in quite a long time. Didn't play it at Lock-in or in Americas thus far. So there are some questions of what composition they will play since those roster changes coming into 2023 did come into effect. Kesnet will likely lock in the Jet here, which makes me think it's just going to be a bog standard double initiator comp, probably a Breach Sova.
That would be my expectation as well. Artist, one of the people that we were talking about, needs to show us a little bit more individually. So again, big focus, big spotlight on that head-to-head matchup there against Kesnet, who usually is the man to get it done for Crew. I say that as Melzer locks in his Omen, and we've seen him come up with a few massive clutches in previous series, even if, again, still they haven't been able to get that big series victory on the board.
Melzer is one of my favorite site anchors. Even though Crew may be falling behind in games, you watch Melzer in a site and he will hold that until the spike is almost, could be like at half beep, and then Melzer's coming over.
Both him and Nags are really good anchor players, and they're going to be important against this default-heavy attack side that NRG plays. They're the guys who are responsible for not leaving a gap. But the other two who have a focus on them is these initiators, Davies and Klaus. You need to be re-clearing space in the mid-round proactively against NRG. If you let them play slow, have the whole map, they can punish you. So I want to see Crew being proactive.
All right, so Astra Omen is really the only differential between these compositions. We'll see what the teams have when it comes to the gameplay, though. Map picked up, agents locked in. All that's left for us to do is send it to our casters. Here's Brent and Sideshow.
Thank you very much, Dash and the desk. Yes, what a setup here for this match. Our final end to the Super Week in North America of NRG versus Crew as well. What a battle we're going to have, honestly. And NRG, I mean, we're taking a close look at this team, and we're expecting, hopefully, some improvements from what we've seen of them over the course of the Americas. It's been a bit of a downward spiral, but opportunities abound, really, for Crew. Still without their first win, maybe they can get it here today.
Yeah, I think the story is very simple for Crew, right? They're still searching for that first W in the column, and I think that's going to be what's driving them. They're probably going to get hungrier and hungrier to try and take down one of these teams that most people would have still above them, but you're right, it has been a bit of a death spiral for NRG, and certainly if they lose this one, the alarm bells will be more than just ringing.
Crew are not messing around. Looks like the idea was a direct push straight into mid. You can see the fault line and the Paranoia was ripped its way across right at the beginning with the first kill, first casualty. Artist falling on the jet. Now a refight being taken. Listen, not without its confidence. Crew eager to try and take some heights once more. I don't know how Kesnet's still alive in the middle of all of this.
What? I mean, the first kill, impressive, but getting 2 in that situation, NRG just missing their shots. There's barely any health here. There's so many players. And Crashies with a frenzy, he might get a spray down, to be honest.
And that's what I'm thinking. This could still be winnable.
And now Crew are worried that he's gone for some kind of lurk play through Garage. You can see them clearing it out. If Crashies gets a timing to stab one of them in the back, it could have been doable, but instead...
Look at this. 45 seconds was left in a round. Obviously, it's Crew sticking together.
One of the interesting things here is that there is a turret and a nanoswarm to deny the A plant. The question is the turret active? No, but it might start becoming active.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
wakey,
just as
wakey.
the Killjoy moves back in.
There you go, and that's going to spot it out. There's the nanoswarm as well. Crashies, he's been chunked all the way down. Suddenly looking a bit less likely, maybe a bit less doable. Dark going to be tagging them up. Wide swing just through the box. Swing not even necessary. Bit of a correction there, but clean pistol round here for Crew to take it away on Haven, a map that we attribute a lot of success for NRG on this one. They love to play it. It's the comfort zone for Finesse when he's calling.
NRG have still looked excellent at Haven despite all of their other problems. Yeah. So if you're Crew and you're looking at this map pool, actually it's more to do with the second and the third map, I think. But having said that, I mean, that's a great start. Crew have managed to pick up the first one, and it wasn't just clean, it was ridiculous from Kesnet. He's got a ghost at just tapping people down.
He was getting pressure, there was an aftershock to the side, yet still finds 3.
And multiple swings. Yeah. And I think also, that might make Victor less inclined to put his Killjoy turret in that exposed position. He's going to go for it again at the beginning of this round. But that was one of the cues that they used in order to throw the Paranoia. And Kesnet's a confidence player. If you get Crew started, we saw the issue that 100 Thieves ran into with this team.
Yeah. Might look to run away with it. And honestly, a lot of criticism leveled at Crew as a team because they don't have the deepest map pool in the world. There's, 2 maps that they're really, I would say, comfortable on. That's going to be split in Ascend. Double face there, jumping across. Looks a bit silly from that perspective, but Kesnet gets dealt with, so... Maybe could do a bit more damage, but Shock Dart's also going to be chunking down Finesse. But back to the prior point, Haven's not a map that I would really, say that Crew have a lot of success on. It's not one that they've looked too comfortable on in the past, so...
No, I mean, that's absolutely correct. That they really should not have a great chance here. But all throughout Super Week, Bren, every time we think we have an idea of where a team is starting to settle to, they upset the expectations. We've seen some ridiculous results this week. And this round, actually, 25 seconds left and people are pulling away from the A site. There is a chance here with a Spectre and a Guardian that NRG might make something of this. It didn't look likely at all, and the time still isn't on their side, but the site is free.
Will we see any of that NRG magic?
10 seconds left.
10 seconds remaining. The turret obviously notifying them that A is the direction. Plant still going to be down. Bit of extra money. Star drop down. So Som's got that to play around, weaving in and out, but Crew are going to make sure to remain grouped up. There's a pull just to delay. Pushing together. Lovely fault line off the back of that util. Som wants to take a fight off of it. Stunned up. There was an opportunity, but a flash turns. Som gets one down to Finesse, but he's so damn low that, yeah, not likely to win it.
But definitely making it a lot more dangerous than you might have expected. And Crew are not going to have a great buy heading into the next round. There's a Guardian, there's a Bulldog that they're keeping over. I suppose Davies might be able to invest too. Maybe they'll still have a bit of something happening in round 3. This is where you will often start to see the NRG train get rolling. And I think Crew need to approach this first map with a level of disruption. Trying to get Kesnet into really aggressive positions and see if he can out-duel his opponents. Get into Ardis's head early. Although, all the talk about the role issues and stuff like that for NRG, Artis' Jet in the last 90 days, the last 3 months, has still been extraordinarily good.
There haven't been too many issues there. It's a nice little play with a stun and a pull. Disrupts that one when Klaus was trying to get space onto A-Long.
And they're specifically throwing a recon dart there that denies the ult orb, because Kesnit was one away. Kesnit, though, not playing for that at all. Looking towards B, and now returns to both of his initiators on the A side.
Turret broken, taking the contact for a player close here, and that's Davies on this angle. Another turret, as soon as it sees somebody, flash is ready, and there you go, strikes back, around the corner though.
Self-flash.
Pound for pound, yeah, it was a self-flash, blinded up. Push back though. While all this has been happening, Melza has been pushed deep down C long, so that's given them constant information, and it's allowed Crew to stack many of their players over towards A.
Look how eager Kesnit is to take the fight.
I'm gonna flash onto the corner to push him back on. Doesn't look like they've got util. Oh, he wants to take the fight anyway. There's the flash, it's delayed. It's a little bit labored. This way, that way, it's not in sync. NRG are finding that opening advantage, but can they convert is going to be the question here. Through the smoke, it's a difficult one. How do you traverse it? The answer is you don't. Davies, he's got it locked down. Wider approach, wider swing, some covers. How are they salvaging it? NRG pulling it from the brink is what it felt like.
That's a very good dash from Artis. He swings away, breaks crosshairs, and Som and Finesse trade him out. Or not even trade, I suppose. Artis didn't even fall. Leaves it down to Melza. No gun. He was deep, giving his team information prior in the round.
Yeah.
And Artis cleans up. Good
Clean
recovery
movement.
from NRG there.
Very good recovery. When Crew were stacking up with 3 players, it felt like they had a vice grip on the entirety of that A site.
Their positioning, though, was so determined to make an individual play. Davies has got a great span through the smoke here, but look at how Artis is... Oh, we don't quite catch it in the replay there. But yeah, Artis' movement there at the default box just played the rest of his teammates in very nicely.
Here.
Big battle potential down short to start things.
Yeah, looking at Kesnit once more. So keen to take a confident fight to try and get himself on the board early to gain those advantages for his team. Push back, nevertheless. NRG with that early pressure, making sure that they threaten that they could be taking space there. And a swarm deep down into the ground. That actually gets rid of the alarm, but I think with a bit of spam, a bit of spray by Victor.
The reclear down A-Long has found some decent information. They used their Sova drone in that spot, and now they're starting to pull a little further away from the A side. Actually, Kesnit's still clearing it. Crew are taking so long, worried about A, that the C side of the map is still quite weak.
Nags it. Surely you don't make a play here. There's so many footsteps you can hear. All of them running all the way through. There was a stun to take a fight, but 1-for-1. It's going to be the end outcome. Still anchoring towards the back. That's Melza staying alive, and he's got the backup of the rest of his team. Flash push them all the way through. Aftershock as well. Fight to be taken, but Crashies wins it. He's got that consistency. Yet Crew have swarmed in a position noted. Fights being won all over the place. That's Klaus coming up massive.
Klaus plays himself in and jumps up to logs with a nice 2K. But Kesnit had also got a really good flank off, just finding his way through all of that utility that Victor had guarding the flank. Using his cloudburst to get over, up and around it. And Crew completely collapsed. I mean, that's the advantage there of having Kesnit play so aggressively on the A side, is that he can go on flanks like that. And NRG are not particularly ready for it. So this is a great start for Crew. They've got another opportunity here on an anti-eco to really start off at a sprint. And it reminds me of the 100 Thieves game.
Yeah.
The first half of that match, it looked like Crew were running away with it. They had a 9-3 defensive half on Ascent.
Revealing area.
They looked fabulous on the defense half of Split as well.
Got to be able to maintain that form, though, when you're playing against top caliber opponents. Artis in the sight. All the utility in the world to set him up. Nice little 2-piece. Guns exchange on top of it. This looks like a flood attempt. Crew really trying to fight this one with a rolling thunder, but it's used. Matched. An ult for an ult. Cosmic Divide now going to be pushing them even further back and still into this post plant. Nags. An important fight to be taken here into A lobby while the rest of his team is making a good go of it. That's Kesnet, I believe it. Double up, trap with the knives over the top of the wall. Nobody was anticipating it with finesse. Falling, dashing right through. Flash as well. Blind. Some couldn't see a thing over the top. Crew looking quite fantastic.
Another retake on C previously, now on A, where that flanking player is creating a major distraction. This time Victor goes down so the turret is not watching. But still, the utility can't hold the flank. It pulls Crashies back away. Crashies loses the duel, and of course, you had Kesnet combining very nicely with Davies on the other side of things. It's been two-pronged retakes in round 4 and round 5. NRG need to adapt to that. Whether it's taking extra space, going back to fight the flank really heavily, there's got to be some level of adjustment. However, that was an eco round for NRG, only a half buy, and Artis has Blade Storm, so they've still got chances here. Crew, though, like we said, off to a very hot start.
Get out of my way!
Big flight. Crew, again, are just not wasting time. They're pushing deep down mid while this C hit starts to really power up. Have to use the util to clear the common corners here. Dash forwards for Artis, in case anybody was holding close, getting that information for his team, but so fast to try and play into this one with the lockdown as a Hunter's Fury to just deny it, and oh my goodness, the timing! Notice worked his way into the back. Well, Artis spots it. Safe hands, but could have been risky.
Massive amounts of ultimates invested there too for Crew as they tried a retake attempt, this time without any flank pressure, and it all got shut down. Finesse with an early span through the smoke, and they had a reflank coming from Victor too. So NRG were trying to mix things up. Here's that reflank from Victor that you see. Able to get in behind, pick off Davies.
One enemy remaining.
Very nicely dealt with. Neutralize the breach ult, neutralize the lockdown.
Yeah.
It's really solid performance from NRG to get themselves back in here.
Enough layers to the play. This Crew knocked down to the Sheriffs and the Marshals, a couple of shorties as well. And look at the disrespect from Artis. I mean, so eager to take this fight. Pushed all the way through with that utility. Kesnet had the right idea.
He's so hungry for it.
The crosshair placement was good and damage was done, but no kill found, and he wants that kill desperately. He'd love to claim it. Get him a nice early lead when the money isn't looking too great, but as the dash dissipates, does he still choose to take the aggressive line? It looks like it.
Yeah. He's got all the confidence in the world.
Just holding it for a wider swing towards the box. It's a double face. Damage is done. Wow, right through them. Chunking them down.
Threaded the needle there. He only needed a body shot onto Finesse or Artis, but he hits the head anyway. This is what we were talking about in that game where Crew played against 100 Thieves. Kesnet is going to limit test.
I have the spike.
And even when he hits the limits, he's still going to try and hard carry this team. So,
yeah,
incredibly crucial for NRG to find moments like that to shut him down when he doesn't have the initiator utility setting him up. This looks like a very simple route for NRG.
Left.
They've got all of the opening on the A site. No weaponry for Crew either.
Yeah, and Crew clearly hoping, obviously, with the aggressive play of Kesnet, it was going to push them into that C side, but not the case. So they'll be just looking for the exit kills at this point, try and get rid of those rifles.
And not only is this a must-win match for NRG, I mean, Crew would love to as well, get their first W on the board, but for NRG to live anywhere near their expectations, make playoffs, it's a must-win. It's also got to be clean. You know, map differential, round differential, tiebreakers might end up being very, very important for NRG as we head deeper on into the season. So executing rounds like this, making sure there are no slip-ups, a 2-0, that's the kind of thing that NRG are going for. It's not just enough to win anymore. They've actually put themselves in such a hole that they need to be stomping these matches.
Yeah.
And they haven't demonstrated that quality on any of their maps apart from Haven recently. So it's going to be a challenge in the series.
They've been swapping around the roles on individual maps as well. We'll probably dive into that a little bit later because it's Artis and Victor who have been chopping and changing, depending on the maps, which, listen, might even happen on map 2.
They should do if they're following the same comps they've run before. Kesnet goes for another push into A lobby here, and he's going to end up being on the flank.
See this a lot from Crew, just pure disrespect. I mean, Kesnet has no support when he's doing plays like this, yet he still goes for it. A team like NRG might not even be used to this kind of play style because you're expecting, okay, well, if somebody's pushed up that deep, there's got to be like 1, 2, maybe 3 players with him. to have that kind of confidence to do something like that.
I mean, not just that, but you normally expect a player to hit the alarm button and go backwards. Kesnet is calling for Klaus to come so that they can both go forwards.
It's just unheard of.
You should run.
Lockdown, though, will start to push back any of the defensive opposition away from the site. So easy access for NRG to try and get onto the front side of B. But as this is happening, there's an important battle on the flank. It's Crashies who needs to hold it down. The double face. Kesnet, there's no one else following up. He takes out the first, and Crashies expects it. Aftershock. Klaus pushed. It should have been an unfortunate fight for him, an awkward one at that. The Hunter's Fury. This is an awkward position to be taking that one and firing it off. He has to cancel it after 3 because he thinks he's being pushed, but it's all over the place right now. Davies starting to defuse, already half on the board, and he's sticking it all the way through. Where is the positioning of NRG to get off of it? So Victor, he denies it. Klaus, still alive, still getting the kill. That's a bit of whiffage. Round the side, Shorty in his hands. Victor lands a shot, lands a kill. 4 for him in the round, but my goodness, Josh, I mean, this is all over the place.
It is, yeah, and NRG are not controlling it perfectly. They've definitely got some good ideas on how to try and stop Crew from getting these plays off, but it is getting chaotic and scrappy. NRG post Crashies up there to try and deal with the flank, and this is what's happening on the rest of the map. Victor goes for a garage reflank, and is somewhat fortunate that Davies decides to only get half. But as long as they're winning these rounds, NRG will be happy with it because they've knocked Crew down onto another eco. And for Crew, they've seen other people beat NRG by going for these big individual moments, by winning the 4v5s, muscling their way back through.
Desk was highlighting it, you know, all the accolades that a team like NRG, or at least the core of that team, has achieved over the last few years, but it's a bit of a fall from grace with the current standings that they're sitting at. That's why we've been highlighting how important this match is for a win for both of these teams.
Another repush from Crew here as they go through the smoke in B, looking to try and put garage pressure on as well. They know Artis is here.
Underhanded Nano Swarm, trying to dead it out. They know the players are here, but what do they even have to take the fight towards them? Flashes back and forth. Kesnet at the back of the site is dealt with momentarily. Well, inside of that one, any sort of spam might do a decent amount of damage, but kill found onto Crashies. That was through garage. They want to reclaim this rifle, and Finesse knows he needs to lock that angle down, prevent them from getting that gun, prevent them from gaining any more space. He does just that. Up to Nagzet. Gets the one. Still alive, but with the triple phase, not for much longer. So maybe that 1 round lead gain for NRG here.
But overall, really starting to pull away right now. Crew had a great lead. They got the pistol. They got some good value in the retakes round 4, round 5 by flanking, by playing aggressive on defense and having flank retake setups. And since then, they've lost 4 in a row. 2 gun rounds and 2 eco rounds. So it does seem like a reasonable time for Crew to call the tactical. See if they can get a different look here.
A crazy thing about Crew as well, I mean, as a team, they don't seem content to ever just really hold space that they've got.
No.
They seem very content to push.
Yes.
And listen, it worked against the 100 Thieves. It's how they got onto that blistering start because they were abusing the fact that they didn't have a lockdown or at least a Killjoy, the Sentinel, to stop those deep pushes. And they were, you know, heavily grouped up and reflanking. And it really does, you know, it's almost like bringing your opponents down to your level when you go against the grain with the flowchart of how you expect the round to go, and Crew are taking all that space in fights that are just unusual. And yeah, I'm kind of seeing elements of that here so far early on, because there's a lot of those deep pushes where Kesnet is just, you know, taking risks. He's guilty of it, of, you know, just overheating from time to time.
But also it has been putting pressure on NRG, and I think your expectations in the series are that NRG should be vastly better map 1, and then we'll see what happens, map 2 and map 3. I mean, Crew certainly have their chances in the series, but this would be the most favored map, arguably, for NRG. And that means that if Crew can find a solution in the final 3 rounds here and make this a competent half, they're doing a lot better than maybe NRG would have been thinking, and then the demons of doubt potentially start rearing their head, because we know that NRG are very aware their performance has not been up to scratch.
These C hits have been good for NRG. They use all the util to clear necessary angles apart from that one. Nags it close to the corner. There wasn't clearance, and the dart's a little bit late. It's a little bit delayed.
Exactly. That's what I was going to point out. The recon dart was never there, and that's the thing that normally clears that corner. Nags didn't have a solution for it. He would have just had to break the recon. Instead, they get themselves into a 5v4.
It's up to Victor to pick up the pieces. He's found this timing. Towards mid. I believe breaking some prior utility to get in there. And it's definitely keeping crew occupied. You can see the amount of players they've got with their sightlines locked towards that B site. And this does create space and room for the rest of NRG to start now creeping and crawling all the way through A long.
I don't think he actually did break any utility. The turret was down on C, the alarm bot's garage. So I think Victor's just snuck a timing in here. They're aware of it because they know that it was a hole in their defensive setup. But how aware are they?
And his timing. Oh, Victor.
Perfect.
He's good for it.
30 seconds
Now he needs
left.
to do the damage. Oh my goodness! Not like that! I mean, well, gets away scot-free. No one watching the body. Not having the necessary protocols in place if you are crew. Gotta expect that still. It's a 4-on-4. Anything could happen in this moment. It comes down to those individual shots being landed. Som, slide off angle, wins his duels and more. But it's just helping him out. And okay, NRG, when they're capable of getting into these post-plant scenarios, it looks quite good for them.
It does, yeah. I mean, it also helps when Victor's able to get a knife kill.
I will say, Victor has been that extra element in almost all of these post-plants for them.
30 seconds
Yeah.
left.
There's reflanks through garage, reflanks through mid.
Yeah, he's given a lot of freedom in this composition specifically. He's not an initiator that needs to set up Ardis. Ardis has to entry, and Som tends to play tighter with the pack.
One enemy
The lurk player has become Victor. And then think about how it swaps moving into map 2, where he becomes the entry. This is why it's so difficult, the way that NRG play currently, because it's not just the roles, it's like what they do on every map is changing.
Well, here we go, another attempt at the same C hits, but enough util use, and right around the side, Kesner just doesn't even anticipate it.
And NRG have got the read at this point, right?
Yeah,
They
know.
fake an A hit, they prompt out that aggression, and they mop up Kesnin. Now the big threat is gone, and NRG go into an A post plan. These are the things where FNS just downloads you in the first 5 rounds. All right.
Oh,
Okay,
you're just
now
going to be pushing with no remorse, no care in the world for your own life? Okay, sure.
Spike
well,
planted.
now I understand how to beat you.
Victor, just hold this guy. He's going to push.
Yeah, basically. And so it really does feel like NRG have gotten out to an uncontested victory in this first half, assuming that they
Be faster.
can mop this one up, and Ardis is in a nice position to do so.
Ardis hunting for the kill. It's not afraid of giving away the gun. And every one he gets creeps him closer to the Blade Storm. On the corner there. Finesse just spotting out anyone else as well that might be hunting for the exits. If you are a crew at this point, you'll be trying to deny as much as you possibly can. The money, though, awfully good. The bank roll is flowing quite nicely if you are NRG. Doesn't matter who you lose, you're still going to be able to buy.
Yeah. You're going into the final round as well.
Yeah.
They could buy 5 ults.
Last round in the half.
Don't recommend it.
Oh, it wouldn't be a good idea. I'm just saying they could.
They could.
Yeah, they wouldn't be hurting. It is crazy the difference between NRG's Haven and the rest of their maps at this point. This was a team that used to have an incredibly deep map pool. I suppose you could put their Icebox in a similar kind of situation, but Crew got rid of this one in that map in the series.
And so did VCT next week.
Exactly. Now, having said that, not a bad thing, because NRG at some point were the best team in the world on
Here.
Bind. But that was when Ye was playing Chamber and Chamber was in meta.
Fast pump towards the A site. Making sure that they take up that space. And this attempt by Crew, I mean, this is a Paranoia being held.
Should run.
Melzer. What is he attempting to refight over this one? There's a drone to clear through. Tagged up. Paranoia didn't even hit there. Still Melzer wins the fight. Outrolling Thunder. It's an attempt to fight all the way through, but it locks down. It's not dealt with.
Get out of my way.
And if Melzer didn't go down there, he would have been detained right around the side. Ardis just flexing.
Do
The
they know
raw
about-
mechanics.
Do they know about Nags?
Close to the corner here. Have to
One
anticipate
enemy
it. There was a
remaining.
gap in the lockdown, and they're going to know now. That kill found. Som quick with the response, quick with the trade. An 8-4 half is not too bad. NRG started to sail away with that one as it got a bit deeper.
Yeah, no problems whatsoever there. Looking like prime NRG. Crew had some ideas, but it was essentially just came down to let's push on the defensive side. looking quite shallow, probably just banking that they can get the upset on Ascent and Pearl, to be honest.
You need a bit more nuance to your game plan if you are going to be going up against NRG on one of their favored maps, their favored territory. But enough about the first half as well. Let's send it down to the desk to hear the breakdown.
Thank you so much, gents. An 8-4 first half for NRG on their map choice is going to feel good. But I actually want to take our couple minutes here during halftime to evaluate this quote coming directly from Chet and talk about how NRG might be living up to some of what is said. The quote goes, "Honestly, I don't really have an idea of things I want to do. There are just so many issues we know where we know what to do, but then we don't do it. So it's just kind of like we're making basic fundamental mistakes, and it's costing us games. Fundamentals, fundamentals, fundamentals. If you can't even get those down packed, then how can you get beyond that to deeper strategy?" And so what's your opinion, Mimi, of NRG first half and whether or not they're improving at their fundamentals?
He said that quote after their last loss, where I think it was clear that those fundamentals were a huge issue. But here, they've been clean thus far for the side of NRG. Their site execs have been well put together.
Yeah, little simple things like this where you see them swinging off each other, being able to control. They go down immediately and are able to repair this round. Artists with a great swing, the team working together. This is what they were missing before. These would have been 1v1s falling apart, and they're coming out so much more. Also in much longer rounds, giving FNS time to think of these strats and figure out Crew.
And in that default, they're not leaving those gaps. Like the Catzers were saying, they have had Crew downloaded. They realized, hey, we're going to be able to get this aggression out of Crew every round. We're going to be able to punish it and just go for these late round hits at advantage. Victor has consistently been finding gaps. It feels like for once, everything's hitting for NRG.
Yeah, what a time then for Crew to run into NRG just as things start to click. But let's talk real quick, Riv. How can Crew mount a comeback here, swapping to the attacking side in a 4-8 deficit?
Crew's attacking side is already decently strong. I think the retakes is where they're punished. So we're already in a good spot. We're going to be going aggressive. Focus on Kesnet. Work around, I think, where you see that energy breach. If you can avoid that, even if you're going towards the duelist, I think they're going to be good as long as they can get into sight and get their post plans locked in.
Enable Kesnet, create openings and a mana advantage. We'll see if Crew can mount the comeback or if NRG close it out in easy fashion. Let's get the second half underway as we toss it back to our casters.
Right back into it here. Yeah, it's a pretty steady lead here that NRG have managed to gain in the last few string of rounds, as you can see just on the timeline on our screens. And you know, looking at NRG as well to keep up that kind of momentum and form, it's something that they've been quite critical of. And a lot of their losses is not being able to, you know, carry out those advantages that they find in rounds and converting them into round wins, which is the important part. You got to get the kills and then actually win.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things about watching them here is that they just look so comfortable, right? They have no issues on Haven doing that. Let's have a look at the C split and how they're going to defend this.
Are they ready to contain this? That's going to be the question on my mind. Already bursting through. Isn't it a little bit delayed? There was a flash there, though. That did push them towards the back, but Som's still alive and kicking. He needs a bit of relief, though. Needs some help from the rest of his team. Deep flash, aftershock. A bit late with it. Mel's has taken an individual fight. There wasn't really much of an attempt at a swing, and there wasn't really much help because the help is on the flank, and Crew are making plays of their own. They're just barreling all the way through. Why not? Each and every one of them holding hands, trying to take the fight. Finesse was seeing if he could pick them apart. As they look at the migrate, make that great migration all the way to the opposite end of Haven.
Do they leave anybody as a little trap? Nope. Everybody just goes into the site. They're going to try and play the best post-plan positions they can. It's quite similar to the first pistol, to be honest. Player disadvantage for NRG, but there's a lot of weak players on Crew.
With that damage being done, always the possibility they could win it, despite being in that 2 versus 4.
Everybody is one shot to Artist Sheriff, apart from Davies. The Frenzy has no problems against weak opponents either.
So dealt with. There's one shot to the body, all it took. As you mentioned, they know one player now close to default, and they don't want to swing out wide, but time is starting to run low, dropping down Davies, and good trading. Swinging out on the necessary players there. Pistol round gain for Crew, and maybe a chance to bring back that scoreline to somewhat of a more even one.
Yeah, and it's not actually, weirdly, the scoreline that's been the problem, because they're going to be able to get the pistol round here, presumably the follow-up, and it's going to look like a really close game. But when it came to the gun rounds, just losing 7 in a row on your defense side, Crew never had an answer. So not only do they need to keep it close by winning the pistol, having a decent bonus, that kind of stuff, but they need to show us some idea of what they're going to be doing on the attack rounds. That's
Okay.
That's actually gonna change things a lot as we head deeper in, because if you're not allowed to go for that jump peak, if crew are gonna demonstrate that they will punish you for that, grabbing info down C long becomes a little more difficult.
With the triple face, yeah. And our crew overthinking it. I mean, they get 2 very good opening kills. And I think them seeing Victor leads them to believe that most of the players were stacking over towards A.
It makes sense. It's wrong, but it makes sense.
Shorty. There's 1 kill. Tries to swing for the second one, denied it. Crash is still close, though. With Classic, not too much more he can do from this position. Does get 1. Okay, my Classic doesn't do that, but... And not much more else the Finesse can do there. So, safety in numbers there. Crew able to convert it, keeping the rifles going as well. 3 of them surviving.
And wrapping up a bonus round really would be massive for them. They've got 3 rifles. So, definitely opportunities. That C hit, or rather, the C pressure at the beginning of the round is going to be a nice thing. If they can throw that in once more throughout the half, really to just make sure that those C anchors are very scared. What else do crew have in their pocket?
Heavy group up. Shock Dart does not clear out that util close, so really made aware of this one now as the plan starts to come through. Aftershock pushes it back and denies it, so chance for NRG to reclaim that space, but it's not particularly spread out by crew, really just grouping up together.
I mean, it's crazy how much value they're still getting out of that alarm bot. They know that there's no one there, it'll give them info on the re-hit. Crew think that NRG are going to have to still be playing somebody over at the B site, and they can leave that completely and stack 3A. I don't think crew are going to account for this.
Dash active, Artis wants to take the fight towards him. It's Kesner who wins it. Now Jet head-to-head, but don't press go off the back of it. They slow it all down once more, so maybe this is that extra level to it that we were expecting out of crew as well. You can't just really be all go, 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 rushing straight in. They are showing a bit of that, you know, regimented playstyle that we wanted to see out of them.
And they have pulled defender rotations. Over to A, burst through garage, everything down to Som in this spot. And I think he's just going to have to give the sight.
Smoke in his face, it does push him all the way through and back, so has to watch the back side of it. There's a gap in the smoke. Wow. The way to capitalize off that with Kesnet taken out. It's now onto a 4 versus 4. Dart through. Som's already found all this space into the back. Lit up all the way through. No one dealing with the dart. Where is the protocol? Not in sight. Not in the slightest. And Melza have to pick up the scraps and the pieces to try and salvage that round any which way about it, but not to be.
It's a big recovery from NRG, and so much of that comes down to Som. The way that crew are playing the post plan is that Kesnet's supposed to be able to give them information into backside. And when he falls, everyone is so grouped up. Look at them, they've got 2 inside the smoke and 1 tucked at default.
Yeah.
They were not ready for NRG to go that quickly into backside. And that's Som continuing to control that area by finding a slim opportunity and a kill on Kesnet.
Massive one.
NRG looking like they themselves want to push down mid this round.
Or at least to threaten it. Probably going to be a stun on top of that one. Dash forwards, Artis. It's a flash as well through, but it's a difficult fight to try and take here. There's a dart through the back. It lights up a couple of the players, but you can't really push forwards to press that advantage to try and take that fight.
It's very cool seeing all of these teams doing this set play that Fnatic have come up with.
Yeah.
But a lot of them not pairing it with the Sova ult, which is one of the things that Leo does so well in that situation, to give Durka even more space.
My ult's ready.
Kesnet has been on fire in terms of taking these duels against Artis. He won one in the prior round on a very similar, tiny angle.
Feels like we've entered that attack round and suddenly the advantage has switched around. Victor close! Kesnet was lost in the moment. This way, that way, head on a swivel. And Som's still at the back of the site. Flashed up though. That was a good swing timing from Nagset. Just got to get this spike down and planted though to get into the post plan because Finesse is actually creeping up behind them. A flank timing could be quite important. Turret's not watching it. Out in the open though. This is the initial shot here, but stun pushes them all the way back again and clearing that space through with the utility. Crew adapt, they adjust, taking back side control. Of Crash is taken care of. They know where Finesse is now. Last one there, standing for them, and slight jiggle of the movement with the turret to cover. Davies finds his target.
Nags hitting some really good shots there. The clearing to backside onto Som is crucial. We talked about how important Som was in round 15. And it's a pre-aim. He knows exactly where that anchor is going to be and swings off a flash. But Kesnet is kind of dominating the first kills in this half. Ardis has not found an opening particularly. He's been taken out. And those first duels are really important. And we actually, while we have a timeout from NRG here, I want to hit something that the desk was talking about. They brought up a quote from Chet earlier. There was a really interesting quote from Ardis that he talked with Brandon Moore from Esports GG, and he was asked, why are they losing? And Ardis said, I'm not sure, we're just not winning, to be honest. But he then followed up with, we're always losing advantageous situations. And I look back at the decider maps in the 2 series where they got upset, and they just had so many 5v4 situations that they'd let slip away. I mean, combined, they were 32 for 18. They were winning 64% of their opening duels, and yet they were only converting less than 60% of those. I mean, most teams are winning 80, 85%.
Yeah, it's all the way up there.
So they're just, in those really crucial pressure situations, they were letting the 5v4s slip through their fingers. And they were also winning almost none of their player disadvantage situations.
And when they get into those 4v5. So if Kesnet keeps running away with it, and the trend keeps going, he's winning those opening fights. That's the opening that Crew are going to be looking for.
Absolutely, just to make it easier for them. But at the same time, if NRG get into their own heads, they haven't even been winning when they have the advantages. And that's been a major problem for them.
They're being pushed here yet again. They don't have the rifles. So what can they do? Crew still heavily grouped up, but they are playing just 3-1-1, so making sure that the rest of their team are watching these positions and adjustment of the aim. Not enough there from Ardis, who's hoping for the head. Just landed on the body of Klaus. Close there. Doesn't actually clear that much, surprisingly, but still the angle's watched for. Yet another shot landed. Does weaken 2 of the players, so no kills going their way regardless.
This is just a round where NRG are trying to gamble, trying to find where Crew will end. But this anti-eco situation, if Crew can clean it up, and it looks like they should be able to, is going to put them back to a winning position on Haven. And like I said before, I really would have counted Crew out of this map, essentially. And the fact that they're keeping it close and finding their opportunities, and Kesnet's winning his duels, it should worry NRG for the rest of the series.
Bodes well for Crew, though. Set some right to try and get that first win in the Americas split, but yes, it's worrying for NRG even more so. Another team that needs to win just as much to really salvage that path to playoffs that they're going to be hunting for. Yes, we're at the end of the Super Week. Yes, we're at the midway point, but this is where it really starts to shake out and matter. You can start to tell because it's NRG that are sitting near the bottom of the standings, not where we would have placed them.
I mean, just to reference the same interview I was talking about earlier, Ardis was asked whether the sense of urgency has finally kicked in for them. And he said, it's already kicked in. It kicked in for that game that they lost against Cloud9. So if there was a sense of urgency for that, the alarm bells will be ringing absurdly loudly in a game like this.
Doubly so. There needs to be an adjustment now for NRG. Wide.
My
That's what Kesnet wants to take. Okay. A fight all the way through. Ardis was ready for it. He could hear the footsteps and adjustments were made there yet again. Smells it. Trying to make the most of that one as well. I think it was a bit of a solo push down C. Did get the 1 kill, but eventually traded. Almost getting Finesse in the middle of it as well.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a trade as just 2 straight up 1v1s. And Melza almost got them both. I like the reposition, though, from Finesse. He could easily have a spot here to win the round.
And there's that pronged approach as well. You can start to look at potentially just coalescing on these players that are starting to swarm onto C. And here it comes. There's the timing! Lays it down as the bullets rain onto them. The Crew players grouped up none the wiser. Left down to Nags it. So much to do in that 1v4. Not enough, Ardis. Getting the confidence back with that kill, maybe, but okay.
Okay, we know the drill. Stick to your roles and we'll crush it.
Huge ultimates here for both teams on a round where it's going to define a lot of the momentum heading forwards. And Finesse does a great job in this just to control Melzer. If Melzer gets him down as well, that round is just going the way of Crew.
Yeah.
So Finesse making the winning play there by relying on his aim and his positioning. Ardis has taken the operator over to C as Crew try to find another gap. It's a very different defensive setup here.
Yeah, this is odd as well. Normally you expect that Killjoy util to be towards mid, but instead it's all the way over towards A, and drone has to be used. Fast play towards it. Rolling Thunder to disrupt this one. Attempted a plan. I think Crew can actually be quite happy with that. They didn't lose anyone. Pulled the ultimate out, but with that spray, offering potentially an easy shot. Kesnet was dropped down to 67 health.
Recalling my bot.
Victor.
Victor's just jiggling this angle, and when he finds somebody, he can leave.
Wow, okay, a bit of a bait
Spike
there for
down
Finesse
A.
to swing out wide.
Yeah, that's a bit bonkers. Wasn't expecting that to happen. I thought Finesse was going to flash off the alarm bot contact.
Nope, just takes the fight and gets 2 for it. Why not?
What a chat.
RGL stepping up. Lockdown's used, so that's a Hunter's Fury to try and disrupt it and push it back. A counterplay by Crashies. He was hunting to try and counteract the ultimate as well. Maybe latch onto him, maybe get a kill, but is there going to be any damage done? Looks like it. 80 to Nags.
Davies might look to try and use his Rolling Thunder aggressively, but Som's on the lurk already, and Som has found an avenue past any potential utility. The turret and alarm bot are both on site. Here he comes.
Crashies was holding the dart just for that moment. No one ready to break it. Flank timing really just suited up, and now they just need to sync up. NRG to try and take the fights here. Yeah, all the way together. Still one more player right down into hell. It's Davies dealt with.
Big flank by Som. Makes that game-winning play. And all of the ultimates thrown out just essentially neutralize each other. I want to see a replay of Finesse with the swing. I'm amazed that he just went for that, really. And the fact that he got 2. That's 2 rounds in a row that he's got that. Here it is.
Ludicrous. I mean, he was just getting onto the line, I think, to flash through Brooks.
Yeah, I think the idea there is that Finesse is supposed to be trying to cross in order to get tucked behind the box so that they can run the trap play. You know, he just wants to get into that position, and instead he just took contact as he was walking over and smoked them.
Gets us 2. It worked.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Bit of a bizarre situation.
Pulling them in. Need that back.
Unfortunate one for Crew. And alarm bot in Crew's face. This one looks like it's got some pace behind it. They're going to up the tempo and C-split.
As per usual, Rolling Thunder. Push on the way back into the C site. Clearance is there, and Victor. Cheeky lurk timings. This time it's Nags who's watching that avenue and still deep behind the box here. Will need to be cleared out at some point.
Nags needs help. I mean, he's on his own and he's already got a kill. So his positioning's known.
Crashies.
He's going to get flanked.
Crashies.
Crew needs to help Nags.
Crashies. He's going to find it. Yeah, there's no help in sight. Everybody playing up onto the site. So, drone now. Pushing forwards. Dart still available as well. Tagging up the players. Do they want to take the fight? They do. NRG starting to move forwards. Lighting up the players. Crashies is just making a mockery of this, isn't he? All the util getting so much value. And the Cosmic Divide splits up the site for the defuse. It's up to Heroics. Kesnet can't get away with it this time, despite the fact that the knives were pulled out, and it's NRG. Find themselves now onto that map point.
The way that NRG are playing this C kind of flood retake setup is really good. From round 15 and the last couple that we've seen from them, it's very nice. The utility combinations from both of their initiators, is super strong, and Som has always got a pull for the players over at default that makes it uncomfortable. Distracts them. The recon darts are never getting broken. It's almost too easy. Crew just cannot hold on in the post plan. They're so focused as well on trying to push back the players from CT, they just allow Nags to die.
Yeah.
Even though they're in an advantage situation.
Leaving him there, just, I suppose, just expecting that nobody would clear that one side of garage, despite the fact that he was already, re-lurking that position. But
they should know better than that.
They should, yeah.
If Crew take that round into a VOD review, they'll be bitterly disappointed with the decision making, but that's what happens when you're in the moment and you're playing against a team that's as dangerous as NRG on Haven. You end up not having the bandwidth.
And they might be looking back at this particular instance here where, listen, it was a close match. And they brought that scoreline between them. But it's NRG that have gone on a bit of a string of rounds as of late now. One away from that map point. I think KRU with this timeout, hoping that they can bring it all the way through because they've done the necessary legwork. If they can take away Haven, it would be a huge win against a team like NRG where, listen, you know, we've been talking about the strength of their map pool. It has been weakening as of late. Haven is one of the better ones for them.
It would be ridiculous if KRU were able to win, but it feels a lot like the first half, where KRU win the pistol, they get another couple, but NRG have already got them downloaded by the time it gets to this point. NRG give the A site completely here.
Yeah,
expecting a lockdown to come through, perhaps?
This is KRU just taking all that space. Well, okay. Oh, just finding that shot. Not sure what that was off. I believe there was a smoke in his face. They want to flood into this. Pushing all the way into the back. Davey's still in hell. Still alive. Still kicking. But Artis is getting all these kills, and I'm not sure how he's doing it. I mean, feels like he shouldn't be expected to. He's actually detained up into heaven.
What is going on there?
Melter drops back to safety with the rest of his team. I mean, it's all over the place. 3-on-3. Util still available. Davies with the fault line. Buys him a bit of time. This time the dart's not going to be getting too much value, so it's broken. But holding the first contact is going to be that re-swing from heaven to the side. Yep, Som.
Those biometrics.
I think that retake would have looked a lot better had Artis not got detained. Hot take.
Really odd. I mean, yeah.
Don't understand it. I really don't. I mean, maybe he just fired up by the fact that he'd gotten those 2 kills by pushing the very boundaries of it. He overstepped himself.
I
Hard
believe
to tell when
he
it
might
wasn't
have
from
just
his
hurt
POV.
Mel's a TP and tried to punish in a split second.
Possibly.
That's what I'm thinking. But
Yeah, it's possible. KRU will take that, though.
they absolutely will.
And that's a big difference from the first to the second half, because KRU never had an answer. Once the ball started rolling for NRG, KRU just got swept aside. Very deep line here for Artis in short. Som has a judge as well, so the idea being if Artis gets pushed away at the early round, they'll run into Som's judge. But now that Artis hasn't seen anything, Som might be wanting to reposition. And I'm not just talking to watch long. Might be looking for the full rotate.
Yeah, just to back all the way through and around. KRU going to be looking, though, to steadily take it towards them now, 1 round at a time. They've got to get 3 if they want to bring it to that OT. Kesnick moves forwards here. Dash into the smoke. Carving out the pathway for the rest of his team. And this time the plan feels like every single time it's been disrupted. Hunter's Fury. Let loose, let rip. No real targets found. None in sight. So no damage done for Crashies there. And an attempt now again at that plant. So putting themselves up into the post plant. Davies was dropped down to 5 out in the middle of somewhere in all of this.
And Victor's controlling the garage reflank. So NRG have control of both connectors and garage here. It's just going to be a straight up B post plant from KRU. The players on site look mighty isolated.
But how do you clear Kesnick? He's just sitting here right at the back of the side. Oh my goodness.
What a spam.
Yep. Found the angle, didn't he? Right through the smoke.
That's a save.
And it has to be.
As soon as Kesnick gets those 2 kills, NRG can't compete. A deep, aggressive post-plant play by KRU. They committed 3 to the site. Definitely an area where you can get overwhelmed by the utility that comes through. But Kesnick wins the duel and then has a nice angle through the smoke.
KRU have been doing a good job as well of just, you know, faking towards those B plans, pulling out the utility, backing away again. Going into the next layer of the hits, whether that's... I think that's the first time they actually re-hit B off of it. Normally they go to a different side, but...
We were talking earlier, Bren, about NRG losing advantage situations. And I made the point that mostly I think that's been exhibited by them losing their 5v4s. Like I said, against MIBR final map, they had 20 first kills, but they only won 12 of those rounds. Against Cloud9, they had more 5v4s as well. They only won about half of those rounds. So that's been the big area where losing when they're up has materialized. This would be very different. They were up 12-8. They had 4 opportunities to convert and put KRU away map 1. If this ends up going to overtime, if KRU can pull this through on NRG's best map that they have access to in this map pool, I think the confidence is really going to start to crumble for NRG.
It's a team that we don't talk about that, when we're talking narratives for this NRG squad, the Optic core, you know, they've historic. They've got that experience under their belt. They shouldn't be faltering under that kind of pressure. But
at the same time, NRG have never actually had a period of slumping like this. This core has always been able to bounce back quickly.
Yeah.
Or, you know, have tournaments where they've placed deep, a group stage game where they lose and then they immediately bounce back. They've always found the answer. They've always had that trust that they will find the answers eventually.
Well, 2 more chances. See if they can close out this map. One that was expected of them, anticipated. Dodging there of the fault line, moving forwards. The shot missed. Ardis, he had his chance, he had his opportunity, and they've left Crashies forwards here. No one's going to clear in this. Stardom! Well, I mean, Kenz's just dashing forward. There was no smoke to hide his presence there, so he is dealt with, but it's an instant trade. Pushing forwards into the site, sure, has to be cleared out. And NRG, did they decide to flood in? The answer is yes, certainly. Dropping all the way down from the high ground position. Flooding all the way through, and this could be it. Hook, line, sinker. Nags is the last one standing. It's a 1v2. Maybe he's made this a bit more winnable. Can he drag it? Can he find the isolated fights? A wider swing, a wider peak. He knows where one of them is, but he does not know that close corner is where Som is lurking for, and the timing is just that. 13 to 10, NRG eventually close it out. So Haven goes their way.
It got a little dangerous. Both pistols going the way of KRU. And it felt like KRU were about to mount a comeback at the end there, but a very nice timeout called. And NRG immediately came up with a good idea. Just a flood out of heaven before KRU were set up in the post-plant positions, which they were a little slow out at the course of this map. And NRG closed it out. That one is absolutely necessary. I mean, at this point, it's a must-win match for NRG. It's a must-win map for them. And like we talked about, these things need to be clean, because even if they end up winning a bunch of their matches left in the split, the potential for tiebreakers in the middle of the pack is very high.
Absolutely. And we just did not anticipate a team like NRG to be at the bottom of those standings. Think about KRU on the other hand as well. They're probably going to be kicking themselves. Chances in this map, certainly. They made it so close. Could have potentially converted it, and it would have set them on a grand path all the way to try and get that win, wouldn't it? As we look forwards into Ascent and into Pearl as well. These are 2 maps that have been shaky. It hasn't been clean when NRG have played on it. You know, the former kings of North America are looking rickety at best.
But that, I think, is where KRU can still have the confidence. Yeah, it was 10-13, you lost, but all right, pick yourself back up. You won both the pistols, you had some good ideas, and you're heading into a map where, for whatever bizarre reason, Victor and Ardis are about to swap roles, and they're going to change everything up. So Kesney gets another chance at a different player to stamp his authority on the game.
And we'll see if that continues as well, you know, the tossing and turning of the roles and changes between them with NRG moving forwards. But they do manage to sail away with that map win. Sail might be putting it a little bit lightly here. Still, that's going to be map 1, all sorted and all packed up and done. We're going to go to a short break. But after this, map 2 in the series is going to be continuing, so don't go anywhere.
Red Bull gives you wings.